This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, Islamic blasphemy laws upheld by U.S. campuses. Our guest this evening, Nonie Darwish, the author of The Devil We Don't Know. Nonie Darwish, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
My pleasure, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you, Nonie. And tonight, wow, what events on our campuses. And you just had quite a journey on a certain American campus, Wingate University. And the administration of that university made an attempt to spike your lecture, and it did so in terms of the funding for the event. Why don't we begin from the beginning? Tell us what happened, Nonie.
Yeah, the Young American Foundation students on campus invited me to speak. And the day I went, they said, we have some bad news. The college withdrew the funds, and also they are not going to give the students credit for attending. Usually my lectures on college campuses, students get credit for attending the event. And so I asked why, and they said because their brochures or their posters about it was, some people were offended by it. Just the mention of radical Islam with my name is just, it shouldn't be. And I was disappointed, but I still went and I spoke on campus at the library, and a lot of Muslim students were attending. And I was kind of surprised because this is originally a Baptist university. It was based on Christian values. So to find all these Muslims attending was a little strange for me. And then while I was speaking, I could see them making faces at me. And this was meant to distract me. And of course, when they make faces at me, the American audience doesn't see it. But it makes me a little distracted. They talk to each other. When I say something like Sharia law forbids leaving Islam and punishes it by death, they would say, "Oh no!" Like in every actual fact, it's a fact, and they would, look at each other like I'm saying something that shouldn't be said, when it's right from their books. And then in the middle of my lecture, about maybe 20 minutes after I started speaking, an imam comes in with his head, a middle-aged man who's obviously not a student, with another man, kind of an entourage. And they looked very angry and kind of wanted to intimidate me. But they don't know that I am never intimidated by this, because I built immunity to this kind of intimidation, Islamic intimidation, that can work on some people on college campuses who are afraid of complaints from Muslim Student Association. But for me, I really know exactly what they're gonna tell me. So I continued my lecture very calmly, and at the end I specifically before the end, they kept disrupting. Some of them would get up and leave and then come back and then get up. And when it's a library, every movement is disrupting of the rest of the people. They kept looking, people are walking by and leaving and then coming back, excuse me. So all of these tactics have been happening to me continuously by Muslim audience. They mean to disrupt. In the question and answer period, I specifically asked the Muslims, pointed at them to ask me questions because I love challenging questions. And not one of the questions was about, well, what you said was wrong, or we disagree with that, or you misunderstood the Sharia law that you mentioned, or anything about jihad, ISIS, nothing. They did not mention any of that. Everything they mentioned was, what you're saying, what qualifications do you have to speak about Sharia? And I said to her, first of all, I wrote a book about Sharia. I had to study Sharia for a year and a half to write that book. And I'm not saying that I'm the best authority on Sharia, but Muslim sheikhs for centuries have made any discussion by anybody other than sheikhs, any questioning or any kind of critique or exploring or questioning is equal to blasphemy. So they have been trained to feel alarmed just by a regular person who's also a woman, which is the lower status under Islam. How dare she talk about Sharia? So that's all they were upset about, is how dare I talk about Sharia. They never mentioned anything to discredit what I said.
Well, that's usually the case with these type of people on the left and on the side of Islamic supremacism. Let's just rewind for a minute just to crystallize exactly what the problem, quote unquote, was with you coming to Wingate University. So you were invited by the Young Americans for Freedom, right?
Yes.
Okay. And your speech was titled, "Why Do Terrorists Hate America?"
Exactly.
And this is now a problem. This is seen as a problem by the administrators of the university.
Exactly. And the idea that Islam hates the West is nothing new. This is in every mosque, every Friday sermon. They condemn the West. They call them names. They encourage the worshippers to hate non-Muslims. This is 64% of the Quran itself condemns non-Muslims as kafir and as enemies of Allah.
Thank you. 1 second, Nonie. I want to get into all those issues, but I just want to focus in here on this totalitarianism on campus now. So you want to make a speech why terrorists hate America. A whole bunch of leftists and Islamic supremacists and whoever else make complaints to the administration. And is the Breitbart story, by the way, that carried this story. The title of that piece is University Spikes Lecture Due to Quote Unquote Hateful Chalk Messages Criticizing Terrorists. This was run by Breitbart, and credit to Breitbart for running this. And but the story says that the administrator that was involved here didn't even actually check the flyers and these chalk messages themselves. He just went by word of mouth.
Exactly. Well, because people complained, and they didn't say who complained exactly, and because somebody complained, then they completely abided by the complaint.
Right, and so, but we really know what this is about, because if complaints were made that Reza Aslan was coming, or some big leftist or some big apologist for Islamic supremacism, nothing would happen. But if it's a Nonie Darwish or a Robert Spencer or a Pamela Geller or a David Horowitz or a Bridget Gabriel, it's a problem, and we know why, because you're telling the truth about who hates this country and is trying to destroy it. Now, so what did the action that they took They couldn't stop you from coming, but they took funding away from the group that invited you. They punished the group financially.
Exactly, and they punished them by not giving the students credit for attending. They on purpose did not want it to be attended properly, which was actually the whole area was full, and so in fact it turned out to be much better attended because of that controversy.
Yeah, because of the controversy. But in general, we have a situation where a freedom fighter like yourself is invited to talk on a U.S. campus, and you would like to talk about the people that hate freedom, hate our democracy, want to destroy this country, want to install a system based on an ideology which will end up perpetrating female genital mutilation, honor killings, forced veiling, forced segregation, and forced a million other things. There will be tyranny, totalitarianism, and you're the bad one for wanting to expose this ideology.
I'm the Islamophobe. Apparently I have a phobia.
Yeah, and administrators of Wingate University are punishing the people that invited you and trying to get you not to come. Now, just tell us now, let's go over this a bit. In terms of the people who came to the lecture, what would you say the percentage was of supporters and opponents? And sometimes it doesn't matter what the percentage of supporters is if they're silent, correct? That basically the troublemakers and people that don't like you and your message were trying to disrupt you.
Yeah, well, I would say that the majority supported me. It's only probably if there were any American far left students, I didn't see them, but mostly they were Muslim student groups.
But this particular imam that had showed up,
he was not from the college.
And he's welcome to come. He's allowed to come, but it's still a registered fact that there are people coming to your lecture that are not even part of this college to disrupt you.
Exactly, and not only that, but the man who was in his entourage, he was not a student. He went to the student who invited me and demanded that they invite that person, either the imam or that person who went to talk to him, to counter me, to invite them. And I was telling the students, well, why don't they do their own event? A conservative student group don't owe them to invite them. Why don't the student, if they want to counter me, they can do that on their own.
Nonie, before we, our time is up, how does it feel to escape a tyrannical environment and come to the land of the free, and all of a sudden, the oppressors that you escaped are in charge and controlling what's supposed to be a free country? This is surreal and it's frightening.
It's really frightening for me. Jamie, I cannot visit 54 Muslim countries. I cannot visit any of these countries because under their legal system, I should be killed. And I cannot venture or gamble with my life and visit these 54 countries. And at the same time, in America, the far left, which claim to champion freedom of speech, religion, women's rights, you name it, they are the ones who are, putting labels on me that I'm an Islamophobe. It really hurts.
Yeah. Nonie, on a personal level, look, I pray for you. I think that you're a hero. I wish you safety. I wish you a long life, and you will have it. And we believe in Jesus. We're Christians, and we will fight, right? And why I'm saying that, Nonie, is at the same time, your life is in jeopardy every time you go to one of these places and go into public. How do you do this? Are you afraid? Do you fear for your safety? What makes you so brave? And what gives you that intestinal fortitude to put your life on the line? Because you just never know what could happen at any of these speeches.
Jamie, I was born in Islam. I came from that culture. I understand it. And I'm not afraid of it. I was afraid of it living there when I was younger. But now I gained strength and power in America. And I feel that America deserves that we stand up for it without fear. I don't want any American to be afraid of radical Islam, because they have, the West has the moral upper hand, and they cannot get into dialogue with us because they always lose. All they can do is threaten, and that we should never allow that. And I will never succumb to this kind of fear.
Nonie, why I'm sitting here today, I come from a family, my dad and my mom, they signed petitions in the former Soviet Union, knowing that upon doing that they could go to the Gulag and die. And they still did it for freedom. And we had many friends of ours who did the same thing, who didn't remain alive due to the KGB and the Soviet Gulag. And I try to carry that torch for my mom and dad and for freedom. And I just want to say that, I bow to somebody like you, that in this atmosphere today, that somebody that puts their life on the line, and there's so much cowardice around us and so many people surrendering. I just want to bow to you and say thank you for your courage. Thank you for putting your life on the line for this country and for freedom, Nonie. It's not said enough, and I speak for a lot of people when I say that.
Well, thank you, Jamie, and I know your background. I know your mom and the background of your dad and your mom, and people from Russia, from Eastern Europe, understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And we cannot act with fear. We cannot allow fear to stop us from doing what we have to do, because that's all they want. They count on our fear. And yeah, you know that Egypt used to be a Christian nation. And you know what? The Christians of the Middle East did not fight. And look what happened to them.
Nonie Darwish, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
My pleasure, Jamie.
And just on that note, on a personal note, in terms of courage, the producer of this program that I have the honor to work side by side with, Annie Cyrus, I think many of you are now familiar with her story. It's an honor to work side by side with one of the most courageous people that I know, that's also putting their life on the line for freedom and for this country. Annie, I myself and many of us are eternally grateful to you. Thank you.
Annie is a great young lady, and I'm proud to be her friend.
Thank you, everybody. Nonie, a real honor to have you here. Thank you. And we'll see you very soon on the Glazov Gang. Please remember, if you appreciate this program, it's a fan-generated show. Please come to jamieglazov.com and support the show. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel of the Glazov Gang. We'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night.
This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.